All right, there we go. Second time's a charm. So if you guys have any questions, just ask in the chat. Today we're going to do the day 4 of Hyperbolas, so the second day of Vertices. We're just going to jump right into this because this is what we did on Friday. If you guys remember, a couple different ways to do this. We can use algebra or we can use Desmos. We'll do both just to kind of double check our answers. We're going to answer everything from left to right or from bottom to top. We'll jump right into it. So the first thing we got to do is when we have an equation, we got to determine the direction of it. And in this first problem here, it starts out x squared. So we know that's a horizontal. Anytime it's x first, it's horizontal, y is vertical. And then the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to look at my chart here to help us determine the vertices. So I'm going to look at this column here because everything's horizontal. And the formula to find the vertices is we're going to take h and add and subtract a, and then we put a comma and then our k. So I'm first going to look at k because that doesn't change on either point. It's going to be the same thing. K is the number next to the y, or actually it's the opposite number next to the y. So I'll look back at my problem here. There is no number next to the y, so there would be a -0 on both of those, so the k's would be 0. Next thing we're going to do is to get the other points, and going back to the formula, the vertices are h plus or minus a, where h is the number next to the x, and then we add or subtract the square root of the bottom number. So the number next to the x is 0, so we're going to take 0, and we're going to add or subtract the square root of 121, which is 11. So if I had 0 on the top and I minus 11, that'd be a -11. If I had 0 on the top and I add 11, that would be 11. Now I'm just going to go ahead here and open up Desmos and just double check this answer. So each one of these problems I'm going to do it algebraically, and then I'm going to type it in to double check that the work is correct. So we had x squared divided by 121 minus y squared divided by, I forget, it actually doesn't matter, 36 equals 1. Just gotta zoom out a little bit. Okay, here we go. We got a couple of equations here. It looks pretty good. If I click on that, there's a -11, 0, positive 11, 0. So we got our 2 answers there. All right, moving on to the next problem here. All right. Question 2 here, we look at this one. We got a y at the beginning, so that's going to be an up or down. And let's look at our formula to figure out what's going to be the same in both of those. So we have our y expression, it's vertical. The vertices are h, comma, k plus or minus a. So the beginning number is going to be the same on both of these when it's vertical. And the beginning number is h, which is the number being subtracted from the x. So I look at this one here, it is x plus 1. So that means that is subtracting a -1. So our h is -1 on both of those. Now to figure out the second number of the vertices, we're going to go back to our formula chart. It is going to be k plus or minus a. So k is the number next to the y. Add or subtract the square root of the bottom number, the number below that. So we got 1 is the number there, and we're going to add and subtract the square root of 9, which is 3. So if we had 1 minus 3, that'd be a -2. And 1 plus 3 would be 4. So just like before, I'm going to go ahead. I think the answers are -1, -2, and -1, 4. But I'm going to type this into Desmos to double check the work. So we had y minus 1 squared divided by 9 minus x, where is it, plus 1 squared over 16 plus 1 squared divided by 16 equals 1. All right, and if we look here, we can click -1, 4, and then below that -1, -2. So there we go. I think we got it right. Okay, 2 more problems to go. Same technique we're going to do is try to do it algebraically and then double check our answers on Desmos. So we have an x at the beginning. So that means we have a horizontal graph. So I'm going to look back at here. Horizontal graphs, x at the beginning, it's h plus or minus a k. So our k is the number next to the y, or the opposite number next to the y. So we're going to subtract that and see what happens. So that number next to it would be a -1. That's the opposite of +1. So our k's are -1. They should be the same on both of those. Our vertices here, you can kind of see is going to be this number here plus or minus the square root of the number below that. So we got 3 plus or minus the square root of 4, which is 2. So 3 minus 2 would be 1. 3 plus 2 would be 5. And we're going to type this in to see if this works out. So x minus 3 squared over 4. X minus 3 squared over 4. And then we got y plus 1 over 9. Just change that to y plus 1 over 9. We can click on those. Yeah, for some reason this comes up undefined, but you can actually kind of see where it's at. I don't know why it comes up undefined. It must be a Desmos error. But we have a dot here at, that's at over 1, down 1. So 1, -1. Was that one of our answers? Actually, I'm not sure. Yeah, it was 1, -1. And then over here, which is at over 5, down 1. Or 5, -1. We should be doing good. All right, next problem here. Let's kind of look at our old problem here to know. We have a vertical problem here because it's y equals. So this is just like this problem here. And if we look, that means both the numbers in front are going to be the same. And that number in front is the opposite of the number next to the x. So the number opposite of this would be 2. So we're going to put a +2 here and a +2 there. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to take the number next to the y, which would be 0, and add or subtract the number or the square root of the number below it, which would be 3. So if we had 0 minus 3, it would be -3, and 0 plus 3 would be +3. So we can go ahead, check this on Desmos. We just have a straight up y squared over 9. And then x minus 2 over 9. X minus 2. Sorry if you guys can't see that. I just realized that's really zoomed in. And let's see, we got 1 at 2, 3, 1 at 2, -3. So make sure we got the order right, bottom to top. There we go. So we'll submit that. Fingers crossed. 4 out of 4 that time. All right, guys. So if you have any questions, double check the chat real quick. I don't see anything. No. That's it for today. And if you guys want to look at what we're going to do the next couple days, it's a good idea. So tomorrow we're going to look at the foci. So that might be one you want to stick around to, but if you look, the problems are going to be very similar to what we did today, except for the foci will have different answers. So if we look at that here, there we go. We're going to find the foci the same way. We just have this new number here, which will be c, which, remember Pythagorean theorem, a squared plus b squared equals c squared. So we'll use that. That'd be a little bit more difficult. But I did want to show you guys too that in your guys' class, I did spend some extra time working. I was able to go through, we're on Hyperbolas here, we are on Vertices 2, we got foci, equations, and then the roundup quiz. Then after that, we have 2 simple projects and then the review over the year. So the whole year, the rest of the year is planned out ready for you guys. So if you really wanted to, just grind it out. A lot of this information you guys can find the Hyperbola stuff online. And then these projects are going to be super simple. I want to just make an easy end of the year. Have examples of them on here, what you guys can do. And the more examples I get, I'll share. So just wanted to share that to you guys, let you guys know. All right, if there are no questions, I will end the meeting. Double check the chat one more time. All right, guys, have a great day. Stay safe. See you tomorrow.